Good morning, welcome back to the channel. Something a little bit different today from the beautiful Poole Harbour. You see all these lures advertised all over the internet, YouTube. There is not many people that sell them and show you how to use them. Well, today I'm with Sean Stevenson. He's going to talk about his lures, how he's actually made them, and now he sells them. And he's going to show you within this video how to use each one and what retrieve you can do with it. We're not on the best tide today. If we get a bass, it will be a big bonus. Let's get into this. Welcome, Sean.
Hello, mate. Thanks for inviting me along.
That's all right, bud. But as you all know, I had my bass competition. Sean messaged me and helped back it with a few prizes. What can I do? I can do a video with Sean. This is not a sponsored video. This is just helping him out because he backed my bass competition in Poole Harbour. So here's Sean. We're going to talk about his lures, show you them, and then we're going to go fishing and we're going to show you the retrieval rates on each lure and what they do. So Sean, when did you start making your lures, bud?
Well, I started actually making lures about 7-8 years ago, and I started along the lines of the hard lures, so surface lures, those sort of things. Then I went on to jig head lures, but I found that most of my fishing is in shallow water, so I wanted something that I could fish in shallow water, so ideal for harbours, anywhere where you've got shallow ground really. So that meant that I needed to develop a lure that was good weedless and weightless. So I came up with the belly bites. The first prototype of the paddle tail was December 2021. I probably went through, I don't know, 35 plus different prototypes of that and before I was happy with the end result. I then moved on to a pintail version and then a stick bait. And I actually started selling the belly bites September last year. So they've not been on the market too long. Hopefully you've heard of them. This is the sort of packaging they come in. Hopefully you can see that on the camera.
Yeah, what I'll do in a minute, Sean, is I'll cut to just you and you can show what you've got there.
Okay. So basically, that's the story behind them. Now, there's two very different things about the belly bites to any other soft plastic. Firstly, they've got a unique smelly belly chamber, and that chamber is open both ends, and it's designed to accept scent gels, spiked weights, glass or plastic rattles, and even glow sticks. Now, that makes the lures far more versatile than your average soft plastic lures. So that's the first thing that's sort of a major difference. And the second thing that most people sort of overlook, because they just feel like a soft plastic, they just think it's made out of the same material, and it's not. This material is very different indeed. It's much heavier than plastisol, it's softer than plastisol, it's stronger than plastisol, and it's got basically a shape memory, so it just won't go out of shape. I mean, just to demonstrate that, here's one that's been tied in a knot now for quite a while, and it doesn't matter if it's tied in a knot for weeks or months. As soon as it's untied, it's back to exactly the shape it was when I made it.
So there's no memory at all?
Yeah, it just won't go out of shape, so you don't have to worry about if it's screwed up in your pocket for 6 months.
Which they normally are.
Yeah, and then you pull the lure out usually and it's completely ruined. These will stay the same shape, always. They will not go out of shape. Other big thing with these is they play nicely with other lures, so you can store them with your TPE lures, anything else. There won't be any melting of lures, none of that happens. And they're good to, I think it's something like 200 degrees, so even if you leave it in the front of your car on a sunny day, they're not going to melt. They're pretty bomb proof. That's why I stuck with this material, is it's just got a much more natural movement and a much more natural action. It casts forever, and in my opinion, it's just a far superior material. So that's why I use it. It is slightly more expensive, but I feel it's worth it.
That's good, mate. So basically, when you design your lures, you've not just like made them, threw them on the market, you've actually tested these over...
I've tested them over years and years and hours. You wouldn't believe the thousands of hours that have gone into this. The idea with this going as a business was that I was going to get them mass produced, the same as all the other big manufacturers. So I spent quite a lot of money, quite a lot of time with the big manufacturers trying to get it nailed, and they kept sending me back samples of the lures, and when I compared them to my original ones, which are made out of this material, which incidentally this material was actually designed to replicate flesh, so it's used in prosthetics and, dare I say it, sex toys. So it's a very natural feeling, very natural movement, and a very natural weight. But I just wasn't happy with any of the samples I got from these big manufacturers, and in the end decided that I'd be much better off making them myself out of the material that I wanted to make them out of, and it also gives me full quality control. So I've made it before it goes in the bag, before it gets sent to you. I've checked it over personally, so I know that you're getting a good quality product.
That's what it's all about, mate, isn't it?
That's what it's about for me. I'm not trying to sell my lures to everybody, and they won't appeal to everybody. You know, if you like buying the cheap lures from AliExpress and Team U, which I'm not knocking that at all, that's fair enough. These lures aren't in that category. These lures are the best I could possibly make, and that's what I wanted to produce, and that's what I want to present to people. It is the best I can do.
I mean, people do buy within their budget, so if they buy Temu and AliExpress, it is what it is. They do work as well, but you get what you pay for majority of the time. So if you pay that little bit extra, you should get produced the more fish.
Yeah, I would say so, definitely. Like I say, firstly they cast further, so you're covering more water, and that puts your lure in front of more fish, and also they last a lot longer. So quite often with a bass, if you're using a weighted hook, it will pull the weight through the lure when you've caught a fish, and if it's a cheap lure, you pull the hook back out and that lure's then in the bin. With these, it's fine, just reset the hook and off you go again. I'm not saying they're completely bomb-proof, no soft plastic is. If a crab gets hold of it with its sharp claws, or you try and cut it with a pair of scissors, obviously you're going to cut it. But it's the best material that I could find.
So they built the last with what you put into those lures, which is, I mean, locally, Sean's lures are getting used locally, they are producing. What I'm going to quickly do is let Sean explain the lures he's got by himself, and then we're going to have pictures from the belly bite footage with people that have caught bass. That's about as much as I can rabbit about, so I'm going to stop the camera. We'll get Sean to get his lures out.
We'll just say before you stop the camera, bear in mind they've only been on sale since September. They have had an 87 centimetre bass, probably 15, 20, 70 plus bass, and I've lost track of the amount.
So that's
60s.
well into a double figure bass then, 87.
Oh yeah, 87. Unfortunately, he didn't weigh it because he didn't have scales. But
you don't need to, mate. We know what an 87
it's a big old
bass.
fish, yeah.
So, but yeah, we're getting to Sean. On a get off camera, we'll let him explain what they do. Once we've done that, I'll have pictures on the end of this little bit. Then we're going to get out fishing.
Right, so just to go through basically the different models. There's 3 different types at the moment. You've got your paddle tail, which is the first one I made. I'm sure we all know a paddle tail and exactly how they work. We've then got the pin tail, which is a bit more of a natural presentation. Tend to use the paddle tail in coloured water. If it's coloured water, that's generally all I use. If the water's clear, I'll either use the pin tail or the stick bait. So all of these are the medium size. Just to sort of give you a comparison, try and hold up that's the medium paddle tail, and that's the small paddle tail. So you can see there's quite a difference there. Now the medium paddle tail without a hook is 17 grams, and the small paddle tail is 9 grams, which is quite a heavy weight for a soft plastic only, far heavier than anything that's made out of plastisol. So they cast a lot further and you can cover a lot more water. Because of the time of year and the tides we've got today and the fact the water's crystal clear, I'm generally going to be fishing with the smaller size lure, just because that's what the bait fish around here are generally quite small at the moment, and that's what the bass will be honed in on. I'm currently doing 4 different colours, so I'll just try and show you those. So you've got your midnight blue, you've got your champagne, you've got your bubblegum pink, which is also UV, and you've got your iced white. Now all of these have got a very special pigment in them which you won't appreciate unless you actually shine a torchlight on them. If you shine a torch on them, you'll see them really glisten. Again, that's quite a unique feature to these lures. You don't find that in other lures. So the bass's eyesight is amazing, and I think that just having that extra little glisten from this material, it all helps. So generally I use my lures with a scent gel in them. I generally use the gobble bait just because I've had some really great success with it, but there's plenty of other manufacturers out there of scent gels, and they all work in the smelly belly chamber. This is the stick bait. On the stick bait, the chamber goes from the very rear right up to here from behind the hook. So you've got quite a big chamber there which will accept a reasonable amount of scent gel. On the paddle tail, again, it runs from just behind the hook, hopefully you can see that, to the back there. So it's open both ends. And on the pintail, it's the same. So again, it's just behind the hook there to the rear. Now, you can also add weights in that chamber, or a glass rattle, plastic rattle, or even a glow stick if you're fishing at night. It just means you've got a much more versatile lure. For example, if I was fishing with this one and I found that a little bit light, I can add a little bit of weight into the chamber. It will make it cast a bit further, which is especially handy if it's windy, but it will also change the swim action. On the pintail in particular, if you put a weight in the chamber, it really accentuates the swing on the back of that lure. I suggest basically you give it a try. If you do it with a white lure so you can see exactly what it's doing, I think you'll be pretty amazed at what a difference it makes. On the paddle tail, generally adding the weight can be handy if you want a level sink. So at the moment, because that's a weighted hook, that would sink nose down. Now if I don't want it to sink so much nose down, I can put a weight in the back of the chamber there and it will level it out as it comes down through the water. So that's another thing you can do, just playing around with weights in the chamber. And on the stick baits, so this, the small one, I call the schoolie snack, and the bigger one is called the belly stick. They're basically the same lure. Now with these, if you put the weight in the rear, it will make that lure come up to the surface a lot easier. So it will cast further and it will fish a lot shallower, even though you've added weight. If you put the weight into the front end of the chamber, which finishes here, it will accentuate the slalom action. The lure has got a natural slalom action anyway, but it will just make that increase the amount that it sways. I've come up with a new way of rigging the stick baits in particular for shore fishing only in the last sort of 10 days, and so far it's caught loads of fish for myself and a couple of friends. So I hope to do a video soon on how I'm doing that, and what I'm basically doing is putting one of the spike weights inside the lure at the head end. But again, I'll go into that in greater detail in another video. So that's the very basics. Now, although I said that I made these lures to fish shallow water, they're also perfectly good off of a boat. And you can rig them in a number of different ways. I mean, these are just a few examples. So we've got a jig head there with the exposed hook. Hopefully you can see that. You've got a jig head there with a weedless hook. Another good way of presenting them. And again, it doesn't have to be off a boat if you're just fishing deeper water or a very fast tide. That's a exposed hook jig head on the paddle tail. And you, again, just to show, you've got smaller jig heads, so you can fish the small ones, weighted and weedless as well. That's a particularly good way to do it. And something I've had phenomenal success on my friend's boat, Elliot, Jurassic Coast bass fishing, is with these stick baits. If the water's clear, this is all I will use now with a jig head like this, and it's been getting some really, really good results. We've had some amazing bass on this, and it's outfished everything we've tried every time we've tried it. So I can't recommend that enough for any of you who go boat fishing. So that's the basics. We're going to get kitted up, get out in the water, and hopefully I'm going to talk through just the very basics on how I fish these lures. This is a shallow venue, so the lures are set up to fish shallow, and I'll just talk through what I do to try and catch bass. Not too hopeful today because the tides are rubbish. It's bright sunshine, but you never know with bass fishing. Fingers crossed. Right, so Shane's new to wading, and anybody else who's new to wading, couple of little bits of advice that I would give for anybody starting out. Firstly, when you're walking in the water, don't lift your feet and walk like you normally would. It's good to get in the habit of just lifting your feet about an inch and moving your legs along so you're feeling around for any rocks. Once you've done this enough times, it becomes second nature. Most of my fishing is at night, and at night you've got no idea where the rocks are, and it only takes a small boulder to trip you up. You're in the drink, your reel's wet, probably your phone's wet, and everything's ruined. So that's the best bit of advice I can give you. Wader fishing is my favourite sort of fishing. I like being in the water with the fish. I think you can't really beat it, and it's particularly productive at night because the bass tend to move into the shallows at night. Having said that, if you're new to wading, don't just go out on your own, start wading around in the dark. Firstly, learn your mark, so you learn what the ground's like, make sure there's nothing there you're going to get stuck in, any soft ground, make sure there's no big boulders that are going to cause you problems. Be familiar with your surroundings. And again, at night, like I say, don't lift your feet and be as quiet as you can. And again, there's arguments for this and against this, but I only use a red light at night. I've many situations been fishing for hours using the red light when I only turn the red light on when I need to, but you don't spook the fish. And at the end of the session, I turn the white light on and all the fish just scatter. And like I say, I know other people will disagree with that. I can only say it as I found it. If you get into wader fishing like I have, I highly recommend one of these. It's a personal locator beacon, a PLB. Now it's about £250, which sounds a lot of money, but it lasts 5 years. So £50 a year, it's registered to me. I'm out on my own quite a lot night fishing, so for the peace of mind for my wife as well, she knows I've got this on me. If anything happens, I pull up the aerial and I press the button. As soon as I've done that, it's a satellite link, so you're not relying on a phone signal. It's a direct linked satellite. It will go straight to the Coast Guard and they are straight out looking for you. So for £50 a year, for the peace of mind, I think it's worth the money.
That's good advice, mate.
So, I mean, other than that, that's all you really need to know about the wading. Obviously, just go slowly at first until you're comfortable with what you're doing. We're going to get out here today, see if we can catch a fish, and I'm just going to talk through how to present a few of my lures.
Superb. Let's get going, mate.
Right, so I'm going to start off with the paddle tail because it's the most commonly used soft plastic. Basically, before I start, I always make sure my drag's set correctly. Don't forget that, because if you hook a big fish straight away, you'd be annoyed if you lose it. So that's the first thing, check your drag. Now, applying the scent. So this syringe is a bit bigger than the ones I give in my packets, but just push the syringe into the chamber, inject it until you see it coming out the front there. That's it done. In fact, that's a little bit too much. And on the hook, it's not so much about adding scent to the front of the lure, it's just about lubricating that hook so that it slides through the body. That will get you much better hookups. Hopefully you can see that. So it's just lubricating that hook going through the body. That's the main point of doing that. So the lure's scented up, my drag's set, we're ready to go. First cast with dry line, I always tend to go a little bit easy. It's nice to get the line wet before you start giving it any real effort. And just throw it out. This has got quite a light weighted hook on it and we're on the small lure. Now with the paddle tail, most of the time it's just a case of a steady retrieve. Not too fast generally seems to work. You can fish it incredibly fast and I've caught fish doing that before. It all depends on what will activate the bass on that particular day. But a golden sort of rule, or the way to start, is just a steady retrieve and just fish that lure. Now that's coming in, the tail's beating the whole time, and hopefully it will get the attention of a bass. The paddle tails are what I tend to stick with through the winter months. So the last couple of years, I've caught bass every month of the year in Poole Harbour, and as soon as we start getting towards sort of November, December, I switch over to the paddle tails, mainly go to the medium paddle tails, and in the winter it's a case of an incredibly slow retrieve. And I'm talking one rotation every second, and you've almost got to force yourself to do that. And the way I do it is I literally count 1 1000, 2 1000. It is that slow. Lots of scent in the lure, and the bass have always got their noses down in the winter looking for stuff on the bottom, crabs, whatever it is, and it catches an awful lot of fish through the winter months. So paddle tail, definitely, that's generally all I will fish in the winter. Today we've got very clear water, it's very warm, the water's warm, so I would tend to not use the paddle tail on a day like this. Don't get me wrong, it still will catch fish, but I think the pintail and the stick baits are a far more natural presentation when it's very visual. So another thing you could do with the paddle tails is chuck your lure out. You can let it sink to the bottom, and as soon as you're feeling that lure, just give the rod a pull up, and that will make the lure come up to the surface and then drop back down again. And you just keep doing that. Now some days that's what will work as opposed to a steady retrieve. And you can always mix it up as well. You can do half your retrieve as a steady retrieve, then start doing this, or whatever you want. What I would say with bass fishing is try not to get stuck doing the same thing over and over again. If you're not catching, try something different. That's probably the best advice I can give you. So hopefully that gives you the very basics on the paddle tail. It's the easiest one of my lures to fish because it doesn't matter what you're doing, it's fishing. Because of the material it's made out of, even if that lure's only moving super slow, that paddle is still beating. You'll find with most other paddle tails, they need a certain speed to get them going. That's not the case with these, and that's a big advantage with them. So hopefully that gives you the very basics on using the paddle tail. Right, so now moving on, this is the pintail. So the pintail I would use over the paddle tail in very clear water conditions like we've got today. I probably wouldn't be going with white today. I'd probably go with the champagne or the midnight blue, but I'm using white just for demonstration purposes. So again, you can see we've got a weighted hook on there. There's not much weight to it because we're on neap tides. There's no need for a lot of weight. And with this, again, you can do just a steady retrieve. Oh, and by the way, I've already scented this one up, so it's got the scent in the chamber. I do that every single time I start fishing. And as far as adding scent goes, I don't add scent for probably 20 minutes or even 30 minutes at a time. So as you see, I'm just doing a fairly steady, slow retrieve, just bringing that lure in, and it's fishing just below the surface out there, and it's just snaking along. I can see it, you probably can't see it on the camera, but it just looks like a sand eel cruising around. So that's it on a steady retrieve. And the other thing you can do is obviously add your twitches. So again, I'm just going for a fairly steady retrieve on this, and then every so often, just a little twitch with the rod tip. Nothing major, just small twitches. And I tend to mix it up, so you can give it one little twitch and then followed by a double twitch. It's just make it random. And then I don't know if you can see the lure there, Shane, can you?
Yeah,
what
I can.
happens when I twitch it?
It looks like an injured fish bait, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, let's say I wouldn't be using white probably in this colour today, but so that just gives you an idea again of the pintail. And like I say, it's a more natural presentation when you've got very clear water. Now, the other big thing with the pintails that I would like to show you, because it does make a really big difference, is adding a spiked weight to the chamber. Let me just find one. So in every kit you get a couple of spike weights, you get a glass rattle, you get a glow stick, you get a hook, and that comes in every packet of lures. So what I like to do with the pintail in particular is add a weight to the chamber. A little bit fiddly this.
Yeah, I struggle with the old big fingers.
Yeah, I haven't got big fingers, but so one of these small weights. Now the small one, because I'm using the small pintail, is 1.1 grams, and basically what I like to do is push it into the chamber. Now always with these spike weights you'll see this shape, so the pointed end should always face the head of the lure. It doesn't matter which way you put it in the chamber, but but it needs to go that way to prevent the weight sliding out the back too quickly. Now what you will find is, because I've just put scent gel in here, it acts as a lubricant. So the first few casts, I'm always a little bit careful. What I do is just pinch the lure after I've reeled it back in, just to check that the weight has stayed in place, because occasionally it can work its way towards the back and then you just push it forward again. So this is with the weight in now. It will give you a bit more distance on your casting, but what it does is it accentuates the swim action of the pintail, and it accentuates it in quite a big way. So you can twitch it, or you can do a steady retrieve. You can do what you like. It will fish slightly deeper now because it's got the weight in, but hopefully Shane will be able to pick this up in a minute. I'm just going to go back to a steady retrieve so you can see the back end of that lure, Shane. Can you see it?
That's nice motion, mate, isn't it?
Now, let's just get it going. It's better when they've got more line out. So I'm going to cast it out there and move away from you and bring it past you. So that's it with the weight in. It really accentuates what the back end of that lure is doing. So clear water pintail can produce some good fish, certainly worth considering. So that's about it for the pintail. Again, mix it up. If one sort of retrieve isn't working, try something else. Right, so now we're moving on to the third type of lure that's in the belly bite range. The small version that's 4 inches, I call the schoolie snack, and the bigger one, which is the medium lure, which I believe is 5.5 inches, I call the belly stick. So this is this has already got the scent in ready to go. And I've stumbled across a new way of rigging these about 10 days ago. Started inserting the spike weight into the very front of the lure, into the head end, and the presentation is just brilliant, and it's caught an awful lot of fish since in those sort of 10 to 12 days. This is what I would generally be fishing with today and hoping to catch a bass on. It casts quite well, it's small, you can do so much with it. So I'm going to give it a cast and then try and talk through what I'm doing. So the main way I fish these is just cast it out. Keep the rod tip down, so the rod tip is just above the water, and I'm just doing a slow retrieve, and then it's the odd random one twitch, double twitch. Quite sharp, short little twitches. Now what that does is make the lure dart around erratically, so it looks like a bait fish that's fleeing or trying to catch something. It just seems to trigger the bass, and this is what I would be recommending today. Warm water, clear water, that's what tends to work. So I'm going to bring the next one past Shane, and hopefully he'll be able to catch it on camera. If he can't, I'll put a white one on so that he can. So I'm going to move back behind you a bit here, Shane. Again, it's a lot easier when I've got more line out, so I'm just going to pull that past you. You can see how erratic that is.
That's nice motion.
I mean, it looks like a fish, doesn't it?
Yeah.
On a straight retrieve, you just get a nice sway. So again, I'll bring that past you just on a straight retrieve now. Try not to cast too far. So I'm doing a very, very slow retrieve, and then if you can try and pick that up on your camera. Can you see it at all? See, it's just got a nice sway to it. Just do that one more time. Again, all of these, you need a little bit of line out to see how the lure actually works properly. You got that, Shane?
Yeah.
Nice. So that's just a straight retrieve. Now, other things you can do with this lure, and this is why I love fishing this type of lure, is you can do so much with it. So again, I'm going to chuck it out, and I'm going to use it like a surface lure now, but with the rod tip down. So exactly the same as you'd use your Pachenko or whatever. I'm just twitching it at a medium retrieve, and that lure is darting on and just below the surface. I don't know if you'll pick that up at all.
Perfect.
Again, I'll just do that one more time, mate, and I'll go a bit further away from you so I've got a bit more line out, because then you'll get a better idea of what it's like. So this is fishing it as if it was a surface lure, but with the rod tip down. And then the good thing I think with these is mix it up. So you can cast it out. You could start off using it a bit like a surface lure and then slow it right down and then add the odd twitch, or just really, really slow retrieve it. Just do whatever you feel. When you get bored doing one thing, do something else until the bass hit. That's about all you need to know. Now, the other thing I really like with these is if you put a weight again in the chamber, and you put that weight towards the front of the chamber, it accentuates the slalom action loads. I mean, really accentuates it. So if you've got a fast tide going away from you, you can almost sit this lure in the tide and hardly move the lure at all, and it will just sit there like a bait fish sat in the tide, and that could be really successful. So I'm going to put a spike weight in here now and then bring you back to show you what difference it makes to the retrieve. Right, so we're back using the stick again, but now I've inserted a weight into the front of the chamber. You might just be able to make it out there. It's between my fingers. So there's a 1.1 gram weight in there. And all that does is basically, A, it gives you more range casting. It means the lure will stay down a bit deeper. But it also means that the slalom action of it is exaggerated. And I particularly like fishing these this way. So I'm just going to do a slow retrieve. I'm going to back away from Shane, so hopefully he can catch the lure doing its thing. So this is just on a slow, steady retrieve at the moment. Hopefully you'll be able to see it in a second. You got it there now? I couldn't see it then, so hopefully it's doing what it should be doing.
Perfect, mate.
Right, and now I'm going to cast it out, do the same sort of slow retrieve, but add the twitches and bring it past Shane. Now this time I'm going to treat it like a surface lure again, but with my rod tip down. So again, just as if you were walking a dog with any of your usual sort of surface lures. So out of my 3 lures, I like fishing with all of them, but I think I get the most pleasure out of using the stick baits, whether it's the size small or the size medium. It's just great fun. You can do so much with them, and it's nice watching how what you do changes the lure's swimming action. So that's the basics on fishing with belly bites. Hopefully you'll give them a try, and hopefully you'll catch yourself your PB on them. Thanks.
That'd be nice, mate, wouldn't it? Right, we're going to less waffle now. We're going to both get
Go
fishing.
try catch a fish.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to get the belly bites out, both of us now. We're going to give it a bash. We'll see if we can get a bass on camera. But I'd like to say a big thank you to Vass. I got my brand new waders. I ain't wearing the swimming pool no more. Big thank you. Right, let's get in a bit of fishing, guys. I'll bring you back. Sean said we've got no microphone, so this is the same date. Hey.
There you go, belly stick. It was on a steady retrieve, a couple of little twitches, tiny little schoolie.
Right, that's it. a little insight into lures that Sean makes. We've had a bash, and like I said, we've got a poor tide. The wind has picked right up. Sean's had a little one out. I will add it into this video, but he had a little one out on his lure as well. So I'm going to say goodbye. Big thanks for Sean for giving me the opportunity to get out to film this as well, and I hope you learn something from lures which you don't from a lot of companies. I'll leave the last word with Sean.
Well, thanks for inviting me out today, mate, and let me do a bit of an intro to the belly bite lures. Like I say, hopefully people have gleaned a little bit of information from it. If they are using my lures, anything they want to know, just tap me up with a message. I'm always available to sort of share any information I can. It was great getting out. We knew the conditions weren't great, so we probably weren't going to catch one tiny fish. It beats the blank. I'll send Shane some photos of some of the better bass that have been caught in better conditions. And thanks very much for watching.
And I'll put those within the video. Sean's Facebook link for belly bites will be in the description, guys. Many thanks.
Oh, and one last word, just quickly. It's now free postage on my website if you want to buy the belly bite lures. www.bellybite.co.uk.
Nice.
Cheers.
Latest, guys. Take care.
Thanks.